Chapter 38. More Sense Than Virtue. They settled down in the ever-growing shade of a sand dune as the sun slowly sank into the horizon behind them. Raven was caring for Rain, who had fainted from shock, with a damp cloth to her forehead. He did so with a heavy heart, knowing that she could never look at him the same as before once she regained consciousness. He would have killed her if it wasn't for Maya. His eyes rolled to the side and instantly softened at the sight. Kato had fallen back to sleep and was resting his head on Maya's lap. He was softly snoring and wore a carefree look on his face, blissful like a child inside the arms of a mother. She was brushing her fingers through his hair and never took her eyes off him. Raven didn't understand when or how they had managed to establish such a strong bond in just 2 weeks' time. He could, however, see that Kato had found genuine happiness in Maya, and that, in turn, made him happy as well. Maya raised her head when she felt that she was being stared at. She sent Raven a smile back, but noticed the sulking grimace of Marcus that immediately turned the corners of her lips upside down. Marcus was joylessly tearing into a strip of jerked beef while keeping his eyes fixed on Kato. Or, to be more specific, he was staring at the soft, delicate parts of Kato's throat, all the while musing the fragility of the human body. He knew for certain that he would never be able to erase the vile image of his best friend locking tongues with his baby sister from his mind. It was a scenario he had dreaded ever since Maya developed a strange obsession with Kato when they were young, and seeing them together was as if a nightmare had crept into his waking life. He quickly averted his eyes when he started to feel a tangible thirst for Kato's blood developing.
"You should count yourself lucky we were passing by when we did,"
Raven said when he noticed a sudden shift in the ambience.
"We never would have headed this way if Kay didn't insist on it. Hailing a group of riders in the middle of the Doran might not have been your smartest move, if you don't mind me saying so."
Marcus grumbled and took a greedy gulp from a canteen that was being passed around.
"Desperation leads to foolishness,"
he said, quoting a former teacher from Ethelwomb who died a long time ago.
"Why did the other riders leave anyway? With all due respect, surely they would have increased their chances of defeating you if they all joined in on the attack."
"No need to be polite, Raven. I wouldn't have lasted longer than a minute in my weakened state. They only left because I was never their target."
"It's a good thing they didn't count on reinforcements then."
Marcus scoffed and took another sip from the canteen before handing it back to Raven.
"You're wrong,"
he said, and turned his eyes to the hooded cloak crusted with dried-up blood that lay atop a pile of ash.
"They knew exactly you were headed this way, long before even I did. In fact, I believe the only reason the girl stayed behind was to await your arrival."
Maya finally found a reason to join in on the conversation when the strange girl who called her Ava was mentioned.
Who was she anyway?
She called herself Valise Everlong.
Everlong?
Her face twisted into a frown, made of equal parts of surprise and apprehension.
The Everlong?
She did bear the typical Everlong characteristics, didn't she? But I have no idea how she relates to Eamon and Aaron.
Do you know why she was waiting for us?
Marcus heaved a heavy sigh. He cast a glance at Kato and begrudged the peaceful demeanor he saw.
"I heard her say that she wanted to evaluate Umbora, which according to her is the word for usurper in the old Doran tongue."
Raven frowned.
"She called me Lubora. Any idea what that means?"
He seemed uncomfortable just from saying that word out loud. Marcus shook his head.
"I wish I could tell you, but I'm afraid they were talking about many strange things I didn't understand."
"Crown Prince,"
Kato suddenly said as if he had been a participant in the conversation all along. He was still resting his head on Maya's lap, but his eyes were open and clear of any fog.
"She called you Lubora Keyback to be precise, which means she knows more about you than any of us do."
He laboured himself to an upright position, but instantly regretted the decision to do so. For a moment it seemed a certainty he was going to vomit, but then quickly raised a finger to assure everyone he just needed a moment to get his head straight. Raven, however, didn't have the patience to wait any longer and demanded clarification.
"What the fuck is that supposed to mean?"
he asked, his voice skipping a few octaves.
"It means you're the next in line to some kind of crown."
Kato answered in a hurry, still struggling to get his bodily urges under control. He made a few spitting sounds without wasting any saliva.
Did you mention something about Everlong just now?
He asked, directing his question directly at Marcus.
I did.
Marcus judgingly bounced his eyes up and down a few times.
The girl's name was Valise Everlong.
What girl?
Marcus rolled his eyes to the back of his skull and grunted.
Oh, for crying out loud. Why don't you just go back to sleep, Cato? All you ever do is complicate things. I'm talking about the blood-soaked girl with silver hair and icy blue eyes who almost killed. You know what? Never mind. As always, you have raised your nose way too high to smell the pool of shit you're wading through. Only a careless mongrel like you would think to cross the Doran High on drugs. What the hell is wrong with you? Honestly, your imprudence never ceases to amaze me. I mean, really? How irresponsible can you be? You were sleeping while your subordinates needed your help. God forbid you make yourself useful for once when it actually matters. Go fuck yourself.
Cato arched an eyebrow, surprised to be at the receiving end of a beratement that was obviously filled with frustration and resentment. He glanced at Raven, who only answered his query with a slight twist of the lips.
Oh, I smell everything perfectly fine, Marcus. When was the last time you took a bath?
Marcus closed his eyes and drew a deep breath to find his inner peace, but all he saw within his mind was the image of Cato defiling his baby sister. He slowly exhaled, knowing that he could never win a war of words against a crafty emissary.
She called you Bora. Do you want me to explain again what that word means?
No. Do you want me to explain to you instead why usurper isn't the correct translation of that word?
Marcus snickered and snatched the canteen back from Raven to take a long, drawn-out sip until Cato finally began explaining without waiting for an answer.
The word Bora consists of the words Umakon and Bora, which are translated to shadow and king. Originally, the compound word bore the meaning of puppeteer and was commonly used in the olden days to describe someone in court who pulled the strings instead of the actual ruler. In fact, people used to call Grandmaster Aemon Bora during his period as chief advisor to King Royston in a time when Onira was still known as Oni-Ra. The reason that word is mistakenly used as a synonym for usurper is because they kept calling him Bora Aemon for the longest time after he overthrew the monarchy and ascended to the position of Grand Master.
He cast a glance at Raven and acknowledged the questioning look on his brother's face.
In the same vein, Lu Bora is made up of the words Luzon and Bora, with the former meaning under or below. I don't know why she would call you that, but being the crown prince of a nation might actually explain why Jackdaw Blackshaw has taken an interest in you.
Raven didn't respond and absently stared at the gilded horizon. It was clear that he needed some time to process the massive implications that could potentially turn his life upside down.
And why would she call you Bora?
Maya asked. She had questions of her own regarding the strange girl, but decided not to let her curiosity complicate the situation even further for now.
No idea. Everyone knows that I don't hold any sway in court. Perhaps it's because I'm a representative of Grandmaster Aemon in foreign nations.
How is it that you know the old Doran tongue?
Marcus asked suspiciously.
I've spent 89 years, divided over 6 lives, studying different facets of the Doran civilization. It just so happens that Malak is derived from the language of Dor. Many words are the same, or at least very similar.
He paused and frowned.
Why is Rain unconscious?
He glanced at Raven, but was only answered with a sullen shrug.
Is she okay?
She's fine.
Marcus grumbled and waved in front of Cato to reel him back to the matters at hand.
You can't casually drop a massive dump in our midst and change the topic expecting the smell to just magically vanish. What are you even saying? What the hell happened? Have you used your aura? Come to think of it, why are you even here?
His eyes rolled over to Maya, slow and deliberate.
And what are you doing here with him?
Regretting my energy wasted to save your ungrateful skin.
She answered sharply.
Mind your own business.
Cato crawled over to Rain and placed his hand on her forehead to gauge her temperature.
I was sent to Doriva to investigate a rumor about the gathering of a massive army. Grandmaster Aemon and your parents insisted on the inclusion of Maya.
What? Why would father and mother want that? And out of all the available options we have, why would the Masters vote on you to lead the mission?
Because it was supposed to be a diplomatic endeavor. The intention was only to find out what Saraki was up to.
Oh, I see.
Marcus harshly intervened.
It was a peaceful diplomatic mission. You just so happened to end up with 89 years' worth of knowledge on the Doran civilization. Curious.
Don't talk about things you know nothing about.
Maya said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed Marcus the ferocity of a true bloodthorn.
Doriva was abandoned.
Cato continued, ignoring the Bloodthorn siblings' fiery stare down.
There was no army. All 60,000 citizens just vanished without a trace. We never even got the chance to meet Saraki. The only people we came across were no Dorivans either. They were barely people who all wore dragon armor.
Miralis?
Marcus asked in surprise, but refused to be the first to break off the stare.
220 in total who all had the ability to sniff out aura.
Impossible!
Marcus turned to Cato with an incredulous frown. The face that looked back at him was deadly serious.
You know that's more than all known seekers of Aiden combined.
They were no more than mindless ghouls, mere puppets with a sole purpose to hunt down people who use aura. They were immune to pain and could only be stopped by destroying the brain. Needless to say, it didn't take long before they overwhelmed us with unmatched tenacity. I did what I thought was best to keep us safe.
Marcus laughed, but not because he found anything humorous about Cato's story.
How many did you kill?
We left no survivors.
Maya answered gravely in her captain's stead.
They posed a danger to the realm.
I'm not asking you. I'm asking him.
Marcus hissed, knowing firsthand what horrors the dark aura could inflict.
How many did you ingest, Cato?
85.
Cato's voice was frigid as the void between stars. The number meant nothing to him. It was an injustice to the event's significance, a gross oversimplification of the union with dozens of lives that were now his. To him, the question of how many wasn't even worth answering. If Marcus truly wanted to know things that actually mattered, he should have asked who Cato had ingested instead. But hearing the number alone was enough to send Marcus shivers down his spine. He didn't know how to respond to such a terrifying claim. The answer left him bathing in cold sweat. All of a sudden, it was as if he wasn't even able to recognize his friend anymore.
You are a vile creature, Cato Knight,
he said through gritted teeth.
A monster who visits demons in their nightmares.
Yes,
Cato calmly responded, having had a similar conversation with Raven before as a rehearsal.
and now we're headed for Rokan.
Why?
Marcus growled, clearly not ready to depart from his agitation.
What business do you have there?
Paying a visit to an old acquaintance of ours. I have reasons to believe that Taimujin Sivalok was involved.
Marcus flinched.
Jin?
Hearing that name instantly replaced all anger with guilt.
You will have a hard time finding him there.
What do you mean?
The riders already took him.
What riders?
Marcus buried his face inside a palm and muttered a myriad of insults under his breath.
Why are you like this?
He groaned, loud enough for the entire Doran to hear, and pointed at a spot a few dozen yards to his right.
See that headless horse over there with the chained-up captive?
Cato rose to his feet with the support from Maya. He shaded his eyes with a hand and peered into the distance, but everything was still hazy from the narcotics in his system.
Who's that?
He asked and slowly stumbled closer to the motionless man.
Some malak. I don't know, didn't get the opportunity to ask. All 6 riders had a captive just like him.
Is he alive?
Not for long,
Marcus said solemnly.
His ribs punctured just about every vital organ. Both his arms and legs are mangled. Some of his wounds already smell rotten. Honestly, it's a wonder he's still breathing. Not even Mother would be able to save his life anymore.
Cato nodded thoughtfully.
Raven!
He said, standing halfway between his siblings and the dying Malak.
Lubora Keyback!
He shouted when his call wasn't answered within a few seconds. Raven snapped out of his reverie and looked up as if he had seen a ghost.
Please take rein and prepare the horses for departure. We're leaving!
Marcus ran after Cato and grabbed him by the arm.
Where will you go? I just said that Jin was taken by the riders. There is no telling where they went. They could be on the other side of the realm for all I know.
Or in a different realm entirely.
Maya casually said, very much to the bewilderment of her brother, who stared back in dismay.
Rokan, I still have matters to discuss with King Ifra.
Cato released himself from Marcus's clutch and pointed a finger at the fallen Malak.
I'm sure his family would want to know of his death as well.
Marcus followed the direction of the finger and winced.
Do you know him?
He asked, and was answered with a pensive nod of the head.
Dasan Visasok.
Cato said, and covered his nose from the stench as he hunched over the man who barely had any skin left on his face and limbs.
Visasok?
Maya said, as she walked over to Raven to help him guide their 3 horses for the final stretch. They seemed apprehensive coming any closer to Marcus, but with a few soothing words she managed to convince them of their safety.
One of my classmates was a Visasok called Isma.
That would be his niece.
Cato said, and went down on his knees to feel Dussen's pulse. The wrist felt freezing cold in his hand, which probably meant that death was close by.
What's on your mind?
Marcus said as he observed Cato's pensive demeanour with visible unease.
Hey!
He barked and snatched Cato by the collar.
Don't you even dare thinking about it!
It might be the only way to learn about what happened to them. With luck, I'll find out where the rest of the captives, including Jin, have been taken to. Dussen's death does not have to be in vain.
Marcus flinched and turned to Maya, who only responded to his fluster with a cold stare. He then turned to Raven, who had always been Cato's moral compass, but was shocked with the silence he received.
You have all gone mad,
he said, swallowing a massive lump down his throat.
If you had seen what we had seen, you would understand the urgency to find Jin. You are almost correct in saying that it's impossible for all those Merylesians to possess seeking abilities. But combine Jin with the right type of people, ghouls such as the ones we encountered in Doriva wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility.
Marcus pulled Cato closer to him with both hands and snarled.
You know just as well as I do that Taimujin Sivalok is nowhere near capable of handling a technique that would require such a massive auric output.
I have another theory for that. I will explain it on our way to Rokan.
Cato freed himself from Marcus and started gathering a black mass that wrapped around his hand like a gauntlet. Marcus was shocked to see Cato's auric control. The only times he witnessed the dark energy before had always been coupled with Cato being completely consumed by an unstoppable rage. But now, he only saw an icy determination in the eyes of someone he wasn't even sure he could still call his friend.
I won't let you do this,
he said, and dove on Dasan Visasok before Cato could make his move. With a swift yank, he bent the skinless head backward until a muted snap brought the pulse of the Malak to silence. Cato sucked his teeth and stepped away from the corpse.
Misplaced as it may be, I do admire your virtue,
he said while the black mass slowly vanished from his hand.
You used to have virtue as well, Cato,
Marcus said and rose to his feet.
What happened to it? Has it been washed away by the flood of new identities?
Cato scoffed.
I'm not some evil entity you're so eagerly trying to portray me as, Marcus. I just have more sense than virtue. Dussen's memories would have helped us understand who we're dealing with. I have no doubt that the riders you encountered are involved with Siraki and Jackdaw somehow, but now we're just reaching in the dark.
Well, if you had been awake when it mattered, you could have taken Valise.
Marcus noticed the change in Maya's heart rate when he mentioned the strange girl's name. It was only then he remembered hearing Valise call his sister Ava for some reason.
Valise Everlong,
Cato whispered pensively. He didn't even have the opportunity to give her existence any thought yet, but somehow knew that she had to be related to Cain.
Valise,
Rain suddenly muttered. She was still barely conscious and slouched over the neck of her grey mare with Raven at her back, preventing her from falling off the horse.
Valise,
She repeated with a broken Malaki accent.
Red. Bird.
Cato flung his head to the scrawny blonde, his amber eyes dilated to 2 black holes.
Rain Knight,
He said with a grin.
you absolute genius.